Hey dude, let's party like it's 2020! With COVID-19 changing the way that we socialize together with our friends, family and loved ones, the concept of having a big party or even a gathering seems like a very distant memory. Wow, this fossil party game dates back to the year 5 BC. That's before COVID. It seems as though that as society has begun to adapt and change, people have begun to reconnect. Families and friends are partying in a new way, in smaller fragmented groups or even online. In this video, we'll look at 5 of my current favorite that is, party games to play with the people that you love. Cockroach Poker. Cockroach Poker is a devilishly simple bluffing card game where you're trying to palm off a range of insect creepy crawlies off to the other players like some unwanted flies in an Aussie barbecue. In this game, you're going to deceive, misdirect, challenge, and inadvertently work together with all the other people at the table to try and not have 4 of the same insect critters face up in front of you, because if you do, you're going to lose the game. In Cockroach Poker, players take on the role of Postman Pat as they palm off nasty critters to the other players in the group like some unwanted love letter. In each round, one player, usually the player who lost the previous round, will pick a card from their hand, announce to the group what they have, either a rat, cockroach, bat, fly, scorpion, stink bug, spider, or gloriously elusive toad, before passing that card to another person at the table. The accepting player can then either decide to take a peek at the card and announce what they think the card is by telling the truth or lie, and then passing it to another player. Alternatively, they can challenge the player who just passed them the card. This involves questioning the truthfulness of that player's statement or whether it is a bluff. If they are correct, the player who passed them the card places the card face up in front of them like some trophy of shame. If they are incorrect, however, the accepting player must eat the critter. No, just bear the shame of not calling the player's bluff. Like a dirty version of Pass the Parcel, Cockroach Poker is deceptively good. It relies on how well you can trust the other players, as well as your ability to read their body language and facial expressions. There are really memorable moments that appear in this game. For example, when players pass and announce a card out loud that they think can deceive the other players, and as the group kind of catches onto this web of lies that this card is actually not a rat card that's being passed around, and that you secretly want this rat card to be passed to the player over on the other end of the table who's already got 3 rat cards in front of them, so that this becomes their 4th rat card. The strategy here in Cockroach Poker is all about your ability to bluff, your ability to scope the field for what critter cards have already been played and what critter cards are still in your hand, and knowing the composition of the field and what's in your hand is going to help you win this game. Oh, what's that? You say this card's a toad? Decryptor. Decryptor is a word deduction game that's all about deciphering and intercepting messages that are being passed within 2 teams. This is a code cracker of a game that will test your intelligence and intuition. The team that can successfully intercept the opposing team's codes twice will win the game. Despite its mechanical Cold War-like appearance, beneath the layers of this deceptively looking game is a box full of goodness. Throughout a game of Decryptor, players will be competing against each other in 2 teams. In each round, one player from each team will adopt the role of clue giver and provide 3 verbal clues that will help their own team to guess a sequence of 3 numbers in the correct order, represented by words on this 80s high-tech cellophane-coloured screen. As one player announces their clues, the opposing team is actively attempting to decrypt and solve what numerical code the other team may have been secretly communicating. Before the current active team can guess, the opposing team has a chance to guess the 3-digit code that was being alluded to. If the opposing team successfully guesses it correctly, they gain an interception token, and if they do it twice, they win the game. As the game progresses, each team will be compiling a list of associated words that match certain numbers as the codes are announced. By establishing a link between the word lists associated with each number, teams can actually predict and tune into what code might be coming next. What is compelling is that once a team has caught whiff of that scent of deception, it's game over. Decryptor is one of my all-time favorite word games to play with a group. Now, it's not one of those party games which will have you telling jokes or even laughing out loud. It feels more like you're watching a really engaging HBO TV series that you really want to binge watch and get right to the end to find the conclusion of it. Now, what's beautiful about Decryptor is that there's multiple layers of deduction. You're giving clues to your team so that they can decipher a code, but you're giving it in a way that's not too obvious so that the other team can intercept and work out what your code is. You're also then trying to solve the code that the other team is trying to communicate with their team members and trying to see how these lists of words link together. Advanced players are going to be able to give some really left of field clues, and the more you think about the clues as a clue giver, sometimes you just fall down this ravine of metaphorical idiosyncrasies and ideas that sometimes you can be completely lost in the clue giving process. And it just makes this really beautiful, tense game that ends at this beautiful crescendo each and every time I played it.
Paranormal Detectives.
Ever wanted to hold a murder mystery party and wondered what it might be like to be the living dead? Well, if you said yes, you're a pretty morbid person, you are. Paranormal Detectives is a puzzling party game where players compete against each other to solve a crime.
Throughout a game of Paranormal Detectives, one player takes on the role of the ghost, and the other players take on the role of paranormal detectives. The cast for this episode of this particular crime show includes Constantine, female Keanu Reeves, Whoopi Goldberg, the villain from Die Hard, and Princess Jasmine. Across the game, the paranormal detectives will take turns playing an interaction card and asking the ghost a non-yes or no question about one of the 5 key elements which led to their death. Questions might revolve around who killed them, how and why they were killed, the location as well as the weapon used in the murder. The ghost then relays their answer via the means outlined on the interaction card played. Some of the interaction cards involve using a set of tarot cards to communicate a story or particular idea, using a talking board to spell the first 5 letters of a word, using the ghost me to describe how big, small, fast, good or evil the murderer was. The clue-giving modes might also include using a quill pen, where the ghost holds the detective's hand to draw a picture. These hangman knots are used to make shapes and symbols, whilst the ghost may also have to mime, make sounds, or even draw the answer with their finger on a player's back. The detective who can successfully deduce the 5 elements of the crime first wins the game.
Now, there are a plethora of detective crime-solving games out there in the board game world, and what makes Paranormal Detectives stands out is the fact that it's got a very simple rule set, can cater for a large number of players, and it's very easy to get into. Paranormal Detectives takes the kinesthetic elements of creative clue giving and merges it with a casual crime story. It is a highly interactive game that really involves all players at the table, and what's really entertaining about Paranormal Detectives is the fact that when the ghost gives their clue through the mode that's chosen by the paranormal detective, it's quite humorous, and seeing how the story unfolds at hand through the way the ghost gives the clues is what makes it really entertaining. So, what evidence do we have? Do we have any information on what exactly happened here? It seems as though that he may have taken the board game collecting hobby a little too far.
Wavelength.
Wavelength is a target guessing game where players compete in teams to try and read each other's minds. Like a glorified game show set piece, this psychedelic game will have you debating, targeting, and talking about the bigger issues in life.
Across a game of Wavelength, players will be dividing themselves into 2 teams using this pizza slicer and electing one person on each team to be the clue giver. Each round, one lucky person will be spinning this serrated wheel of plastic, then revealing a Wavelength card that will suggest a topic with 2 opposing parameters, before secretly opening this Star Trek looking screen to identify where the target is sitting. The clue giver then provides a clue to their team to help them move this seductively red dial to the right spot that lines up with the clue that was given. It all sounds so simple, yet the challenge here is finding a clue that perfectly matches the part of the spectrum that you are talking about between the 2 parameters that are given. Then you have to see if you and your team are on the same wavelength and think, well, do they think the word phlegm is a beautiful word or an ugly word? Whether the Dark Knight is a hero or villain, or whether picking your nose in public is normal or weird. It depends on who you are talking to. The closer a team is to pinpointing the target, the more points they get. The opposing team even has a chance to get involved by betting on whether the target is left or right of what the other team just guessed. Soon you'll see that Wavelength becomes more than a game of guessing the target, but rather debating the more important topics in life. The first team to reach 10 points wins.
Wavelength is like the perfect family guidance counselor that not only raises questions that you never thought you'd be discussing with your friends and family about, but also it gives you an insight as to whether your friends and family think like you. It's a game where you hope that you know your husband, wife, sister, or brother, or significant other well enough, and hopefully that they don't get mad at you when you realize you don't. It's a game that really starts debates rather than finish them, and that's what I really well and truly like about this game.
You know what this party needs? We need some music!
Let me put this record on!
Anomia.
Anomia is a pattern recognition, speed reaction trivia game that has you sitting on the edge of your seat, where common knowledge becomes uncommon, incomprehensible gibberish.
Anomia is a delightfully small game that packs a huge punch. Throughout a game of Anomia, players will be drawing cards from the central decks and placing them face up in a pile in front of them for all players to see. Each card has a topic and a symbol. Whenever two players have a matching symbol, those two players face off, John Travolta and Nicolas Cage style. This involves each player stating an answer that matches the topic of the opposing player's card first. Whoever does this takes the losing player's card and keeps it as a point for the end of the game. Additionally, if taking the losing player's card reveals another matching symbol card, then a cascade occurs and the two new matching players face off. Players need to be continually on high alert as the cascading effect can potentially chain multiple times. Wild cards are placed up in the central playing area and provide a new additional condition that can cause a face-off to occur. When you see people playing a game of Anomia, it's like watching a flock of seagulls trying to attack the one person who brings a giant bag of hot chips to the beach. I mean, they're just waiting to be snapped up.
Now, don't be deceived by its very unusual name and very bland box color, because what's packed inside this game is not a modern medically infectious virus, as the name kind of sounds. It's actually a fun, thrilling card game that has players mentally fumbling and grasping for answers to things that they should already know. I mean, I've played a version of Anomia where when a player gives an answer to a category, whether right or wrong, players can't use that same answer for the rest of the game. That adds a huge another level of tension, difficulty, challenge, thrillingness, and it's far funnier to play it using that kind of variant rule. Now, there's great variety in the deck itself, and watching a chaining cascade is super entertaining. And sometimes you're watching someone else with a chaining cascade and you don't realize that you've got a match as well and that you're engaging in a face-off, and seeing multiple face-offs happen one after the other is just really, really entertaining to see, and it really is well and truly so much fun. It's one that you should definitely try. Plays great at the 4-player level and slightly above, because it really tests your wits and your ability to pay attention to what is going on. I hope this video has been quite helpful for you to help you decide on what games you might want to buy for Christmas or your next Airbnb getaway. If you really want to celebrate and party like it's 2020, then remember to hit the like button. If you want to give your friends the hint and tell them it's time to take a holiday or start a board game party, then don't forget to share this video. If you want to see some more high quality content, please make sure you subscribe to this video and tell all your friends and family about it. I would well and truly appreciate it. Now it's time to party on my own because all my friends are socially distancing. This is Danny signing out. See you guys again soon in the near future. Goodbye and game on.